to Football Then and Now, episode 18. RIP to Kevin Campbell. Myself and Christopher had an affection with Kevin Campbell at Everton. Not forgetting he was at Forest. He came through as a youngster at Arsenal. Just a great ambassador for football. Chris, we will touch upon Kevin a bit more later on. I know you wanted to speak about him. There's so many memories, isn't there, about Kevin Campbell, especially for Everton, but everywhere he went and played, and punditry, talking about Everton as well, Chris.
This one really hurt. Obviously we don't know the guy personally, but you feel like you do. The years he played for Everton and what he did for us and what he continued to do for the fans and the club. After the fact, with Sky Sports and going on other people's podcasts. I'm sure we'll get into it when we do go in about Kevin Campbell later on. But this pulled on my heartstrings a bit, this one. He's a legend. For every club he played, he put 110% in all round of a top bloke.
And everyone you speak to, some pundits, guys who come on, they get slated and stuff like that. You never heard a bad word about Kevin Campbell, and that was across all teams, even if he hadn't played for the teams, just an affinity to him. Just so it was fun. He made it fun, the punditry as well, when he used to come on Sky Sports News, and predominantly he was talking about Everton, and it's just so sad. When we heard the news he became ill, I think people thought he was going to battle it and come out the other end, and just so sad, Chris.
I was hearing things on Twitch with people I follow who are Evertonians and obviously are more in the know, and I got wind of that by reading about Kevin Campbell not being very well. But I see, like, as Evertonians, see him as like a superhero. And you just think, he'll battle through, and then we'll see him again. And you see his always happy, positive vibe tweets he used to put out there on Twitter, with his Dickie Bow Thursdays. But you just look at the guy and how happy he was. So you had that natural thinking that he'll pull through, and then he'll be go back to his normal way of positivity. So when the news broke, it was just really sad, mate. Like I said, we don't know the guy personally, but it did pull on your heartstrings because of just what type of person he was. And, you saw on Sky Sports News throughout the day, the amount of, messages or comments he was getting from, former professional players who've played with him, friends of his, clubs coming out and saying, how much they loved Kevin Campbell. So, he just showed how much he was loved, throughout the whole football world and community. So, it hurt, that one, mate, if I'm honest with you, because it's just like, we grew up with what he did for us.
I remember having Radio Merseyside on back in the day, especially for, the 3:00 games aren't televised, are they officially anyway?
Yeah.
Having the games on, especially, I think we'll carry on with Kevin actually for a bit rather than coming out of it, because we're in a flow, aren't we? Those 9 goals, Chris, when we had him on loan from Trabzonspor there, single-handedly kept us up. Walter Smith's tenure, when you look back, the club was in a bit of a mess, wasn't it? But we had some really good players. All right, some players in the twilight years, but he came in from Turkey. We knew from seeing him in the Premier League for Arsenal and Forest, those 9 goals that he put in and single-handedly saved us from relegation, didn't it?
Yeah, and you got to remember, obviously we were a lot younger now, a lot younger then, not now, bloody hell, a lot younger then than we are now. So the idea of a player coming in from Turkey, and as I say, we knew who Kevin Campbell was already by that point, but we haven't seen him for a long time. I know, and he wasn't having the best of times in Trabzonspor, was he? And you just think, is this another player coming over, or coming into the club that's just going to be there for the payday and, get his name out, so next, come this summer, he can find another club. It wasn't like that for Kevin Campbell at all. He came in and was firing all cylinders. And as you say, those 9 goals he scored were fantastic. My memories is the West Ham game at the end of the season. And, we had a good run of walloping West Ham, didn't we, for so many years that, it was just always I think it was always a high scoring game, wasn't it? Back in the 90s, early 2000s against West Ham. But that game, he just took it by the scruff of its neck, and just, he scored a hat trick that day. I'm sure it was a hat trick, wasn't it? And you could just see how much he loved being at Goodison Park and being in front of all of us. And I think he found his home. I know you'd say Arsenal probably is, because that's, that was his club, and that's where he came through the youth. But I feel like he was just more embraced by the Evertonians. I think we appreciated more for what he did. Not saying Arsenal fans don't, because I'm sure they do as well. I'm sure Forest and probably West Brom, for when he kept them up as well. But I think it was just something different at the time, as you say. The influx of players we had, the Richard Goffs of the world, even though he was fantastic for what age he was for Walter Smith, you got to look at the age of that team. And, we lost Materazzi, didn't we? Even though we didn't really work in that season. The court was really good for us. Lost him, didn't we, as well? So, we were all over the place, as a squad. But Kevin Campbell was just, he was something else, and someone you could have latched onto and actually call him a superhero. Forget all the Marvel films, of fake superheroes and all that sort of comic life. Kevin Campbell was a true superhero.
Absolutely. And he stayed at Forest when they got relegated. And he scored 22 goals that season. Obviously, they got back up, didn't they? So loyalty as well. He could have stayed in the Premier League, no question. He could have gone somewhere else. Loyalty. I know the Forest fans have an affection for him in that respect. True to the club, and West Brom as well. Collectively, they were bottom at Christmas, and historically, if you're bottom at Christmas, you go down. They did amazing. Kevin was part of that. He was our club captain as well. Yeah. Shed some light on that too. When Dunk came back, obviously from Newcastle, he was number 24, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Campbell was 9. Ferguson just went to number 10, didn't he? Even though he had number 9 on his first run. So I think you can say there was respect there, wasn't it? Because I'm sure Kevin might have said, "Look, Fergie, I'll step aside and you can have the number 9." But Dunk was quite happy being the number 10 for a bit, wasn't he? But what a tandem in there.
Yeah, they were really good together. It's funny because they were both good at headering the ball. They're both good with the ball at the feet. And I think people don't see Duncan that way. But if you remember how good Duncan was in the early days, when the ball was to his feet, he wasn't just a hard man knocking people about and scoring headers. He was very good with the ball. And Kevin Campbell was absolutely amazing with it. So they worked really well. But I also would say they both helped mould Wayne Rooney in the early days when he broke through. And we had those big, massive characters in the Everton team. And I think Kevin Campbell, especially with Duncan Ferguson, really helped Wayne Rooney in the early days.
No question the amount of years that they had at that point. Without a doubt. He had all the ability in the world, as we went on to see. But you can be shaped by players, can't you? And the age he was coming through, yet there's no question about that. So we've had about 3-4 weeks without us doing an episode. We know the news broke about 2-3 weeks ago now that he passed. So sad. So this episode is a tribute to Kevin Campbell. Our thoughts are with his family.